The minisodes are kind of like the stories about their past that Aziraphale and Crowley would tell each other in the pub of an evening, where they go, "Do you remember that time when we went to the Holy Land? Or remember that time during the Second World War when that happened?"
We'll go back in time to various points in their long history together, and those sort of mini stories will shine some light on what's going on for them in the present day. And inevitably it will be much more complicated than anyone imagined, and because Neil wrote this, it will be sort of infuriatingly, blissfully simple and glorious.
John Finnemore has written a minisode set in biblical times for us. Probably the smartest comedic writer writing today. He was absolutely invaluable.
In our biblical adventure, we go back and we're doing the book of Job, and we meet Job and his children. Aziraphale and Crowley are in this position where they're going to save the children and play a trick on God so that they're able to save their lives.
Yes, they're a slightly entitled family, unfortunately. They've been God's given them quite an easy ride up until this point. Aziraphale and Crowley try to bring Enon and his siblings back to life and make Job's life a little bit less miserable.
Yeah. After I've been tormented by God.
Yes.
Crowley turns out to be the one that has been set in by Satan to do the job, and Aziraphale is horrified that Job is getting attacked by this demon. And there's this great moral sort of dilemma that's explored.
We're in Enon's mansion. We're there with Aziraphale, Crowley, and the kids. And in that scene, they're trying to tell the kids that danger is coming.
They pretend that they're going to cast them down to hell and create kind of a fireball pit that the children will fall through. But when they fall through the floor, they end up just going into the basement or the cellar of the same building and having been protected. The way that we ended up shooting that, again, was a lot of like in-camera magic. We had our upstairs set and we had our downstairs set, and the actors would literally fall out of frame, like they would just fall over or crouch down so that they would end up falling off of the bottom of our frame. And then when we cut to the downstairs, they would end up jumping into frame. And those two cuts side by side give the impression that they have fallen a great height.
In the studios here, we built one of the biggest blue screen environments that I've ever seen.
Hopefully it looks like the Holy Land, or a version of the Holy Land that looks so real. You're like, oh, this can't be VFX. But the whole thing is shot on blue screen.
We put David and Michael in the middle of it, and we've put Job in the middle of it, played by Peter Davison, another ex-Doctor Who.
One of Job's sons is played by a very promising young actor called Ty Tennant. He's got a great future ahead of him, I hope, because I'm hoping he'll pay for my old folks' home when I retire. This is my father-in-law, Peter.
Hello.
And this is my son, Ty. And Peter is playing Ty's father.
Yes.
In this particular scene.
So he's out of the picture.
Yeah, I've got nothing to do with either of them.
I bumped into David actually shortly after doing the makeup test. He had no idea who I was at all.
Not a clue.
He thought I was a fan who'd obviously escaped onto the set. Looked at me with panic in his eyes before he...
I was hoping someone was going to rescue me.
I thought it would be fun to give each character a colour. So we basically made up lots of different robes in different fabrics, and then we power dipped them through several versions and tones of each colour. Job is in what I call kind of a biley green, citrine colour, because it would draw colour from his face, make him look older, make him look, more shocked and terrified with what's happened to him.
Crowley's sort of the moment that he's in. Unlike Aziraphale, who's rather frozen in aspic and has worn the same clothes for hundreds of years. I think Crowley likes to sort of feel like he's of the moment that he's in, so he has to be a little bit rock and roll. I don't know how en vogue he really is, but it's his version of the sort of the world around him that he responds to.
You know, Crowley, I think, has a more realistic set of expectations around what it is to be human.
Aziraphale begins to understand that Crowley's kind of playing the system. Crowley kind of reveals to him that he's not really on Hell's side, he's on his own side.
A big turning point for Aziraphale is for someone who eventually comes to appreciate and enjoy earthly delights so much. Crowley kind of guides him to certain understandings in different ways. They develop more and more complexity and richness, as does their relationship.
He doesn't manage to introduce Aziraphale to wine that early on, although clearly that's a part of the relationship that develops. But he does manage to introduce him to ox ribs, which he takes to very enthusiastically. That was a very funny day, watching Michael spit beef across the set.
Cheers.